Hello, Watertown. I'm Matt McCarthy, the Family Engagement and Communication Strategist for Watertown Public Schools, and we are coming to you from the beautiful new podcast studio at WCA-TV. Look at this place. This is awesome. I am happy to be here with Kendra Foley, the chair of the Watertown School Committee, and what we really want to do today is we want to provide the Watertown community with a quick synopsis of the work that's going on with the Watertown School Committee. So the school committee met 2 times in the month of October, and we certainly understand that a lot of folks are busy. It's hard to find time to watch municipal meetings. Sometimes they can go a little while. So I think the goal of our conversation really is just to provide a brief, concise overview of what the school committee is working on. So we're excited to do this. And Kendra, I'm excited to be with you today.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Matt.
So MCAS. That was like the story of the October meetings. You spent a lot of time going through MCAS and accountability data. I think it's something that folks, I know certainly I work in education. It's still really hard to wrap your head around. Like, what's the 30 to 60 second synopsis of what MCAS data showed, not only in Watertown, but across the state, and what parents and educators and community members, really need to know about this? What's the most important takeaway?
No, it's a great question. I know there's a lot of discussion about MCAS. MCAS data in general, remember a couple things. One is it's just one snapshot of one moment in time. So it doesn't mean everything. But what it can tell us is trends over time. And that's really important for a district. So it helps us identify areas that we need to improve, or areas that we're really doing extremely well and our students are excelling. So it helps us help our students better. And that's just a really important data point to have year over year, that consistency in the data, so that we can see who we're helping well and how we're helping them well and how ways that we need to do it better.
Off the top of your head, is there one area that really stood out that was maybe, good and positive, and were there other areas of improvement, that, maybe we can see both here and across the state? Are there any real takeaways from that?
Yeah, no, there are. And for this year, the Cunniff Elementary School was named a school of recognition by the state. And that is a huge honor. And that was really for huge growth that they've had in this past MCAS cycle. So that's a really big deal. I hope the teachers and the families there are really proud, because the growth information is actually the most important, because that shows you what's happening in a classroom. It doesn't tell you where a student is at what grade level, because we're a very diverse community. Kids come to Watertown at all different places. But what's happening in our classrooms is really the most important thing. And it just showed that those educators are doing an exceptional job taking those students and helping them grow in both English and math. And so that was a really big bright spot for Watertown this year.
Yeah, and the second year in a row that Watertown's had a school of recognition. The Hosmer had the similar recognition last year.
Yeah, so Hosmer did, and they continue to do very well. And Lowell has been very consistent in their both growth and achievement data year over year. And I have to say, we've been focused on the elementary schools in Watertown for 6 or 7 years now, and really focused on the curriculum, making sure that teachers have the supports that they need, that they have the highest level of curriculum that they need. We've been really focused on science of reading and making sure that we're meeting each student where they are in terms of their reading. And our data shows that these investments are working, and these are investments that our community is making. And as a member of the school committee, I'm so grateful for the taxpayers in Watertown and our partners in the city for continuing to make these investments, because it's showing real benefits for students.
So after DESE released the MCAS data, I think, the story statewide was pandemic learning loss really still a thing. Like, what do folks need to know about MCAS data, accountability data coming out of the pandemic, and what that looks like in Watertown and elsewhere?
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, because we are going to see the impacts of the pandemic for a decade. We are. And we have to really recognize that. And we have to put in place the supports that our educators and our families and our students are going to need. And we saw, like the state and as well as Watertown saw an impact to 3rd grade and 10th grade scores this year. And let's think about where those students were during the pandemic. 3rd graders were in pre-K, just starting their educational experience in the public schools. And 10th graders were in middle school. those 10th graders missed a lot of their middle school experience, and that has an impact on and those scores. And we see that here in Watertown, and we're seeing that across the state.
I guess, from a practical, perspective, what does data really mean and in education, and, how can this be applied moving forward for not only Watertown, but, for the rest of the state as well?
Yeah, I think this is a really important point as we think about how and why we use MCAS data and why it's important. The data is only as good as how we use it. And so it's really important that we take a look at our data every year, take a look at the trends and what that's telling us, and make the adjustments and the investments that we need to make sure we're serving our students in the best ways possible. So we take that responsibility really seriously. And so each of our schools are taking a look at their data. They're creating interventions that they think are important to better serve their students.
So, and if you're interested in, looking more at the nitty-gritty data, you can find it at the Watertown Public Schools website. Go to the school committee page. You can go to the agendas. All the documents are linked there. If you're a real data nerd, this is for you. MCAS and accountability data. You can find that at the Watertown Public Schools website. Another data point that I found really fascinating from your recent meetings was enrollment, which is now approaching 3,000 for the first time in the history of Watertown. You've been here your entire life, Kendra. You were born and raised here. Almost 3,000 students in Watertown Public Schools. You can speak to that certainly better than me, but also what this means moving forward, particularly at the elementary level. I know the school committee administration is going to be watching what that means for class sizes, particularly at the Hosmer.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I'm thrilled because we want to be a community that is welcoming to families, and we want them to be able to be a part of this community. So it makes me so happy that people are coming to Watertown because they want to be part of the Watertown Public Schools. We are doing all this work because of those families. So it makes me happy to hear that. We do have to think about what that means and the impacts it has. We have been very dedicated to low class sizes, especially at our elementary schools, for a long time, and we continue that commitment. We've built these beautiful new schools, and I'm sure that's been drawing families here to Watertown, in addition to the amazing teachers and administrators that are here. So we are going to continue to monitor that. We are going to have to make adjustments. I know that Hosmer has some full classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
We do have centralized enrollment so that we can, if you enroll late in the year, you may not be in the school, in your neighborhood school, but we'll make sure you have a wonderful place and a wonderful school. So we just have to be very thoughtful and deliberate about this process. Many years ago, we talked about, enrollment trends, and we were told you won't see any enrollment increases. And I always knew we would, because when you build it, they will come. And when you build great systems and great schools with great teaching and learning, families are going to want to come there. And that's a wonderful thing. We're going to continue to have to think about this with our new high school online. We're going to have to be creative with the city, in the next 10, 20 years to see what kind of adjustments we'll have to make. But we'll keep a good fast look on this.
And speaking of the high school, real quick, I know you'd been in the process of looking at naming the high school gym and auditorium. That process is still going on, but there are some updates being made to that process right now?
Yes. So the process continues on. We are actually in the process right now of creating some criteria. There was some very vague criteria that had been part of the policy before, and some members wanted it to be a little more in depth, which is great. So we are creating some criteria now for the naming process. We'll come back to the public soon and let folks know about that criteria and re-welcome them to add any more recommendations, and then we can move forward with a vote at some point early 2025.
Yeah, some of the names that have been suggested were great. I know those names will be considered moving forward, that folks will continue to have the opportunity to voice their opinion on ultimately what the name of the new high school gym and auditorium will be. So I'm really excited to see that process play forward and move forward, and I know you are as well. Kendra, this has been so much fun. I look forward to doing this every month as we recap, what's going on with the school committee and recapping these meetings. If people have any follow-up questions or want to learn more about anything that we've discussed today, how can they best get in touch with you?
Folks in the community are always welcome to email me at kendra.foley@watertown.k12.ma.us. Join us for our school committee meetings if you'd like to watch them on Zoom or on cable. And I look forward to continuing to come back here and having a great conversation with you about the things that are happening in our schools.
And make sure to follow and like Watertown Public Schools on Facebook, Twitter X, Instagram, and of course, follow along to Watertown Cable News and WCATV for letting us use this unbelievable news space, which is available to the public as well. Kendra, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to doing this again with you soon.
Likewise. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.